Alright, so next we want to slope this or tie this to our rock surface. But before we do that, we want to make an adjustment down here. And we're going to make sure that we tie into the existing contours that we have down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my layers. I'm going to turn on my original ground layer. Let's just turn on the contours. So in the contours you can see that we've got a bit of a swale through here. We have a little bit of a plateau right here. And what we want to do is we want to ditch out this. We want to change this ditch so that it slopes out into this area and dumps over there. So again, maybe we come in and we put a little detention pond or some type of filter in here, but that's something we can deal with later. But right now we're just gonna say we're gonna drain it out to this area here. So I'm gonna use this contour as my elevation. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this line here, I'm gonna edit it, and I'm gonna take that PVI and I'm gonna remove it. And I'm going to switch over to horizontal, and I'm just going to left click once, left click again to move it, and we're just going to drop it in and we'll let it pick that elevation up right there. Okay, so we're taking it from this point up in here, right here, and we're going to slope it down. If we go back to vertical, we've got our point there, so we're going to take it and slope it that way. Alright, so we got about a negative 3.28% going out, which is fine. So now what we'll do is we'll switch over to the other line. Again, we're going to left click to select that point where we will remove it, and then switch over to horizontal, and we'll move this and we'll just bring this down here, and we'll widen our ditch at the end a little bit so that we've got some spill out. Alright, so now I've just edited those. So now that I have that, I've got my slope going out, I got my ditch going out. I'm going to take this line here and we're going to surface tie it to our rock surface. So I don't need the contours anymore, we'll get rid of those. And we'll come over here and I'm going to use, on the surface tab, I'm going to use the surface tie. I'm just going to call this wall. We'll leave it on the layer break lines. Actually, we're going to put it on another layer. We're just going to go and I'm going to temporarily put it on a working layer. Okay, so I already may have that layer, but I'm just going to call it working now. We'll click OK. I'm not going to put it in a group or save it. You'll see what I'm going to do with this here in a second. I'm going to put on that layer. I'm going to tie to the rock surface. I'm going to make sure that I'm going in the left direction or to the wall side. I'm going to put a maximum spacing of 10. I'm going to do a cut of 1 with a fill slope of 2. And we won't worry about adding to the surface yet because we don't want that one added. I'm going to click apply, and now you can see that it's daylighting out. And if I look down here, you can see that the rock surface is actually below this point. So we'll come back and deal with that later. What we really are interested in is this white line that we see here, which is where we're tying into the rock surface. Okay, and you can see over here that it comes back down to the rock surface and actually comes around to our bench. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to take this surface tie. And normally I'm not a big fan of exploding, but this is probably the quickest way to get this line. And you'll see why I put it on a different layer temporarily. So I'm going to use a right click. After I select it, I'm going to hit explode. I'm going to explode this object. I'm going to click OK. And now you can see that all these lines are on that white layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this. We'll just do the surface tie. We can get rid of that. We don't need that one anymore. And we're going to take this line here, and I'm just going to go and say view only layers of selected objects. Okay, or actually what I'm going to do, I don't have to do that. I'm just going to go, I'm going to use my advanced select or select by layer, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to pick that layer. Alright, so I've selected everything on that layer, and I'm just going to hold my control key down. I'm going to remove that outer line. So I'm just getting rid of these tie lines that we see here. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete those. So now I'm left with just this line here. Okay. Again, multiple ways that I could have done that. That's probably one of the quicker ways. Just make sure you put it on the right line. Now I need to change this and relayer this. I'm going to go to properties, and I'm going to put this on, instead of working, I'm going to put it back on my design break line layer. All right. So make sure we put it back on that layer so that it gets put into our surface automatically. All right. So I'm going to close that, and now it's on that layer. So next, what I can do is I can actually come down here, and this is where that rock surface is, and that's where we go into fill basically. So I'm going to break this. So So again, I'm just going to come up to my edit or CAD command or tab ribbon, and I'm going to go break, and I'm just going to break that off right there. I'm going to take this line and we'll go ahead and delete that piece. Right, so now I've just got that line there. Then I'm going to use my offset command. So I'll close that command. I'll go to offset. We're going to call this bench. And I'm going to go to line to offset, which will be this one. The distance, I think if I remember correctly, our bench was 5, so I'm just going to do that. Yep, so our bench is offset 5. We're going to go to this side, and our vertical offset is going to be a plus or positive 2%. So we want to slope this back. Click OK. Now that I have that, I can come in here, and I'm going to take this, go back to my surface tab, go to my surface tie. Again, I'm going to keep it on working for now because I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the other one. And we're just going to call this tie to OG. Our surface is going to be the original ground. The direction will be to this side. We'll do 10 again. We'll do a cut slope, this time of 2, fill slope of 2, round corner method. We'll click apply. So now what it's done is you can see that it's projected and daylighted itself out over to here. So now we've got that daylight line up into there. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pick this. Let's close this. I'm going to pick this. I'm going to right click, explode. Click OK. Everything's still selected, so I'm just going to control and deselect that tie, and then I can just click delete, and then we'll get rid of this as well. Okay. So kind of another quick way of doing it, nice little tip. Everything stays selected, so I can just delete it. So it's kind of like a select previous. Now we're going to delete this and break this off in a minute, but what we want to do next is we want to pull back the corridor in this section, right? Because now we know that with this projection here, right about in here is the intersection of this. So I don't want to explode my corridor. I just want to move and remove this section of the corridor back to here, and I'll do some cleanup, and we'll show you that in the next video.